Good afternoon, and welcome to the Library of Congress. My name is Monica Valentine, and I am a program specialist here. Today, we celebrate 30 years of two amazing book series for kids, Goosebumps, written by R.L. Stine, and Magic Treehouse, written by Mary Pope Osborne. The Library of Congress is thrilled to be a part of this celebration because we're known as the home of American culture and creativity. Our collections are wide and varied and represent almost any kind of creative expression you can imagine, including books, photographs, newspapers, film, sheet music, musical instruments, and a few unusual things, such as locks of hair from George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and Ludwig van Beethoven. We also are home to an incredible collection of nearly 4,000 books on magic and spiritualism, which were owned by master magician and escape artist Harry Houdini. Now, a little more about our guests. R.L. Stine has been scaring people around the world for many years. He's sold more than 400 million books, and his works have been translated into 35 languages. His other popular children's books include the series Fear Street, Mostly Ghostly, The Nightmare Room, and Rotten School. Mary Pope Osborne is an ardent advocate and supporter of children's literacy, and the award-winning author of more than 100 books for children and young adults, including novels, retellings of mythology and folklore, picture books, biographies, and mysteries. Mary's personal contributions through her Gift of Books program have placed over 1.5 million books in the hands of children. These two beloved authors will be in conversation today with each other and a moderator who we will meet in just a few moments. Pay attention during their conversation because there will be an opportunity to ask questions later on. After the program, you'll be able to purchase books and have them signed by the authors, as well as have a photo opportunity. I'll share more about that when the program concludes. Please note that today's performance will include dramatic and flickering lights and some spooky sounds. So now to the moment we've all been waiting for. Please welcome our moderator in conversation with R.L. Stine and Mary Pope Osborne. What's going on?
What's he doing here?
Well, hopefully we figure this out in a minute. Okay. Ooh.
Oh, hello. Hello. Oh, hi. Hi, Mr. Stine. Hi, Miss Osborne. I'm your moderator. Hello. I know I don't have a nose. I really don't have a face or really any skin, but as my dear old mom says, no one is perfect. Now, how old are you, young lady?
I'm 9.
Okay, I'm 5,321 years old, so don't be impressed by being 9 years old. How is everyone doing today? Good. We're so glad you're here. What do you think about meeting someone without a nose? Is it too scary? I hope not. So we're so glad that R.L. Stine and Mary Pope Osborne are here. I don't know how they got here. I came here in a sarcophagus. Does everybody know what that is? It's a big, tomb thing that mummies live in. So, oh, hello, ma'am. Do you work here?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Is it a good place to work?
It's
Yes.
spooktacular.
Okay, it's spooktacular. Great. Okay, so let's have a conversation. Excuse me. Let's have a conversation. Oh, gosh, that's a little scary. Mr. Slappy. You know, I learned in Slappy Beware that Slappy is about 200 years old. Is that right, Mr. Stine?
Yeah, if you believe that.
Oh, if I believe that, okay. I shouldn't, it sounds like maybe I shouldn't. We're gonna, surgery on Slappy right here.
He needs it.
He needs it, yeah, he definitely does. Okay, sorry. Okay, that mask is going to come off because I'm not really sure that you all want to see me wear that for all this time that we're going to be on stage.
I think your sarcophagus is double part.
Yeah, it is. And here in Washington, they're very strict about the parking rules. So,
Is this on? Can people hear me?
yeah. Can you all
I
hear
can't.
Mr. Stine?
No, I don't. It's not very loud.
Let's see. Can you all hear me?
I
Yeah.
can-
Sorta.
Yeah.
Okay. And what, Mary? Let's.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
No, see, you echo. I don't echo. I'm. Okay.
So as Monica said, we're going to talk a little bit about these brand new books and your writing careers in general, and we'll do some other fun stuff. Might be kind of funny, might be kind of spooky. We'll see. So tell me, both of you, what is the hardest part about starting a new book? Is it the plot, the setting? What's the hardest part?
Well, for me, the hardest part is getting the new idea, because I've written every story a human can write. So there's nothing left.
Yeah.
So that's the hardest part for me. The truth is, I don't even try to think of ideas anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I try to think of a good title. I get the title, and then this title will lead me to a story.
Mm-hmm.
Say, 5th grade zombies. Well, obviously, there'll be a story, there'll be a classroom maybe, it's filled with zombies in the 5th grade. And, you know, that title leads me to the story. And that's how I come up with new ideas.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Which I think is backwards for most authors, right? Most authors have an idea, and later on they think of the title.
Yeah.
But I always start with the title.
Well, it seems like a good way to go. I heard you say yesterday in an interview that you did. Oh, thank you. Let's see here. Is that better? Okay. Okay. Thank you. I heard you say in an interview yesterday that Stephen King accused you of taking all the good amusement park story ideas.
He did.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did. But, well, I've not, actually, you know, I'm Stephen King for kids, right? I've only met him once. I've only talked to him once.
Yeah.
And we had a nice talk. And I said to him, and this is true, I said, Steve, did you know that a magazine once called me a training bra for you? And he said, yes, I know.
Yeah, that's hard to forget, for sure. Mary, what about you? So, you know, so many books to your name. What's the hardest part about starting a new one?
I start with an idea, and then I try to, is that yours? I start with the idea, and then I work backwards to the title. And I was doing, and often people give me good ideas. Recently, somebody came up to me at a signing and said, "The Little Horses of Mongolia." And I rushed home and I looked it up, and there are these endangered little horses of Mongolia. And then immediately I started working on the title, and I got Late Hour of the Little Horses. And so I'll start there, and then it may not happen because I'll start research and see if there's anything there to really tell. So it starts with an idea, and often that comes from kids or grown-ups who tell me.
I've never gotten an idea from a kid. No, never. I'm waiting, you know. And people say, well, do you get ideas from your dreams? I've never had an idea from a dream. I have the most boring dreams you can imagine. No, the other night I dreamed I was eating a Snickers bar. Oh, that was a really exciting dream.
Yeah, it sounds like
not a good idea.
You probably also don't get any good ideas from kids, because when kids come up to you and say, I have an idea for your next book, you say, goodbye.
Beat it, kid.
Yeah, beat it.
No, their ideas are always so much more gruesome than mine. Their ideas are always much scarier than anything I would ever do.
Yeah. You turn in an idea that was given to you by a kid to your editor at your publishing house, and they would say, oh my God, this is way too scary. You cannot write this. So Mrs. Osborne, your new book, let's show it to everybody here, is not technically a Magic Tree House book. It's actually a book about yourself with parts of Magic Tree House woven into it. What was it like writing about yourself? You know, you've always written sort of in the voices of Jack and Annie and other characters. What was it like writing in the voice of yourself?
It was the most powerful book I ever wrote, because I dug into my childhood, and these memories just appeared, and I'd get up really early, maybe 5 in the morning, and for one whole, few months, and these memories would come up, and they matched things I'd written about in Magic Treehouse. So it's a combination of lessons Jack and Annie have learned, and where the seeds of those lessons were in my own life. So there's 10 life lessons, and I was really an odd child. That's what I discovered that shocked me, is how peculiar I was, and how eccentric, and how frightened I was of everything. And then how Jack and Annie, helped me overcome those fears, which we'll talk about later, how your imagination can really help you overcome fear.
And so, Mr. Stine, in writing Slappy Beware, seems like you had a lot of fun cooking up his backstory. I assume you did not draw the cover.
If I could draw, why would I write? Thank you.
Let's see if it's...
What? Is it on? What? Yeah. I don't know. What are we doing here?
Oh, it's on. Okay, great.
Yeah. No, that's, I wanted to be a comic book illustrator.
Oh.
And no, that's really what I wanted to do. And when I was 9, I used to do these little comic books, and I would bring them into school and pass them around for attention, and I'd pass them around. And my friends would say, Bob, your drawings suck. You're terrible. You can't draw. And they were right. I couldn't draw at all. Yeah. So that's when I knew I had to write. And, people always ask me, they say, did you have a special teacher who encouraged you writing? And I used to bring these little things in and pass them around. And the truth is, the teachers begged me to stop. They said, Bob, please don't bring these. Please stop doing this. So I'm very grateful to them, really, because if they hadn't begged me to stop, I might have stopped.
I mean, but that's the mark of a true writer. You just keep going, right? Because you believe in yourself.
I don't know why. Why did I like it so much? That was just talk about being a weird kid. I was 9 years old. I'm in my room typing all day. Why? Why did I think it was so interesting? And my mother would be at my door, and she'd say, go out and play. What's wrong with you? Go outside and play. Worst advice I ever got, right? Stop typing and go outside and play.
Yeah.
And I would just say, it's boring out there, too boring.
Yeah. But Mrs. Osborne, I mean, it seems like you actually had a happy childhood. I mean, it's an interesting thing about this book. So, like, one of the beautiful things about it is that Mrs. Osborne grew up in a military family, so moved around a lot as a kid. But you always, in the new place that you ended up, you always had a tree that you found and that you sort of felt at home in. Tell us about your love of trees.
Well, when we were little, we were just thrown outside every morning, my 2 brothers and I. And one's my twin, and one is a year younger. And so we were like triplets, really. And we'd land in a new house, in a new yard, a new neighborhood every couple of years. And Bill and Michael and I would just race out to explore what we could play with, whether it was woods nearby or a tree. And the trees, we would each find our own tree. That was sort of happened on 3 or 4 different posts. And so much magic spun out of that because the trees would become forts, they'd become some kind of shelter. We didn't have a tree house, sadly, but we had a life with nature, and we were unsupervised. We would leave in the morning and come home for lunch. And I think the magic of the childhood was playing with my brothers. So that was sort of the incentive for Jack and Annie in the Magic Treehouse.
And so you've both written spooky books. Have you ever imagined something so vividly that you scared yourselves while you were imagining it?
Are you talking to me?
Both of you.
What? No, never.
Never. Okay.
No, see, I don't think horror is, I don't get scared by horror.
Yeah.
There's something missing in my brain. Serious? No, I'm being serious now. Where horror makes me laugh. Scary stuff. If I'm at a scary movie and the shark comes up and he's chewing the teenager to bits, I'm the one in the theater who's laughing. No, I've never, people come up to me and they say, oh, after I read your book, I had to leave all the lights on. I had to lock the door. I've never had that feeling. I don't know what it's like.
Well, comedy is at the root of horror, right? I mean, you're such a great comic writer.
Well, I think that I always, I never really planned to be scary. I always wanted to be funny. But there's a very close connection between horror and humor. It's the same visceral reaction. If you sneak up on somebody and you go, boo, what do? The first thing they do is they gasp, right? And then they laugh. It's all connected.
Yeah. And what about you, Mrs. Osborne? Anything so scary you?
If I traced it back to childhood, it would be ghosts. And my brothers and I would play ghosts a lot and pretend one was in the house, and we'd scream and run and hide. And I've done 3 tree houses that have the word ghost in the title. And I think, again, it's overcoming that childhood fantasy that we were being chased by ghosts.
Do you all ever want to go back and tinker with or rewrite a book you wrote a long time ago?
No, I mean, well, most authors don't read their books after they're out.
Yeah.
You've already had to read it 20 times, right? So you don't. I mean, there's some really bad Goosebumps books. No, it's true. They can't all be great, right? There are a couple that
real stinkers.
They're really pretty bad, and it'd be nice to. But no, you don't think about going back. There's one called Go Eat Worms. You know that one? It's a terrible book. Terrible, really terrible. There's one called The Barking Ghost, which has a great cover that Tim Jacobus did. This great evil barking ghost on it. That's a really bad book. It's really bad.
So buy it for the cover.
But
throw all the pages out.
But you can't go back.
Yeah.
Why, do you go back?
No, I don't go back. In fact, I can never look at a book after it's come out. I'm too afraid I'll find a mistake in it, or I'll want to rewrite it. So I just, I don't look at them.
When you all do get ideas from kids, do they email you? Do they just talk to you at book signings? How do kids interact with you all?
Well, for years and years, I went to schools and I talked to kids directly in classrooms all through the 90s. And then that really started, the whole series going, because teachers gave me great ideas. I had kids vote for ideas all over the country, and I'd get the same kind of vote no matter where I was. And so as I stopped being able to do school visits, it would come in the mail or a signing, bookstore visit. But it's always been a big part of the nourishment for the series has been teachers and kids, and parents too.
I get wonderful mail from kids. It's one of my favorite things. I still get
real
letters,
postal
like
mail.
real letters, and just amazing mail. These are real letters, okay? Dear R.L. Stine, I don't know if you remember me or not, but when you came to my school, I'm the one who stepped on your foot. I did remember that kid. I remembered him. A couple weeks ago. Dear R.L. Stine, you are my second favorite author.
Oh.
That was the whole letter. Talk about keeping you in suspense. And maybe you've heard me tell my all-time favorite letter from all the years from a boy. Dear R.L. Stine, I've read 40 of your books, and I think they're really boring. It's perfect. It's perfect letter.
And I hope you wrote back.
I think one of my letter writers must have been very influenced by Mr. Stine, because when he wrote me, he was 7 years old, and he said he was working on a novel, and it was pretty scary, and he hoped to finish it soon, and it was called The Septic System. And then, like Bob's letter, another kid wrote and said that he hadn't read any of my books, that he wanted to read one someday. His friends liked them, and he signed it, "Your biggest fan." Yeah,
that is a great letter. I hope I don't steal that one. That was great.
What's the scariest thing that each of you has seen or encountered in real life?
Well, I think I saw a real ghost. I was in North Carolina, and there's a famous thing called the Mako light, and it's a light that appears out of nowhere in the woods where a train used to go, and they said it was like one of the railroad men looking for his head because he'd lost it in an accident. And one night after, I used to be in theater, after a show, a bunch of the actors said, "Let's go look for the Mako light." And we went to this remote spot in North Carolina, and we're standing in the woods practically by the old beat-up railroad tracks, and we're laughing, and we're thinking this is ridiculous. And out of the woods came a light, and there was no road nearby and no explanation for it, and it just lumbered like as if it were carrying a lantern over to the tracks and then down the tracks toward us, and it got as bright as a headlight and disappeared. So in a book about ghosts, a Magic Treehouse Fact Tracker, the book starts with that story and says, my sister wrote that book, she did all the nonfiction books, and it said, "I know someone who once saw this light by some railroad tracks." But there's no explanation for that. You know, it's a mystery.
So moral of the story is don't go to North Carolina with Mary Pope Osborne.
Yeah, right.
That's really good. I'll tell you the scariest moment of my life. Scariest thing ever happened.
Is it right
to me.
now?
What?
Is it right now?
No, I'm not. I'm not scared. I'm scared of you. What? No. No. I told you I don't get scared. No. This is a true story. When my son Matt was a little guy, he's like 4 years old, and I took him to the automobile show at the Coliseum at the Javits Center in New York. You know, hundreds of cars, thousands of people all over, and I lost him. That was the scariest moment of my life.
Wow.
And the whole thing just lasted maybe 30 seconds at most. This horrible feeling of panic, right? I'd never felt anything like it. And then after that, then I spotted him. I saw him standing over by a car, and I went running over to him, and I said, Matt, are you okay?" And he said, "Where were you, Dad? I was about to call the manager." He was a New York kid, right?
Yeah.
I didn't have to worry about him. He's a New Yorker.
Yeah. Yeah. He knows who to call. So from the time when you all first started publishing your books until now, do you think that your audience, your readership has changed? Do you write any differently, do you think, than when you first started?
No, I don't. I don't think kids have changed. Our fears don't change.
Yeah.
And I think kids are basically the same now as when 30 years ago when we started Goosebumps. We're still afraid of the dark, afraid of going down in a creepy basement, afraid of getting lost, afraid something's lurking under the bed. Those fears never change. What's changed is the technology. Cell phones have ruined every story. They've ruined everything.
Yeah.
So I used to do, I do a teen horror novel where a girl is getting frightening phone calls. Who's calling me? Who is that? Who is this? And now she looks at the phone, she sees who it is, and the story's over. right? Right. And it's really hard. I have to get rid of, you have to get rid of the phones right away, or you can't have a story anymore.
Yeah.
And you have to also be careful, not to have too much technology. Mm-hmm. There's some old books of mine where kids are walking around with Walkmen. What's a Walkman?
Yeah.
It changes every 2 weeks, right? Mm-hmm. So that's the only problem. But I think kids are the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You feel the same.
I'm lucky because I usually write about the past. I always write about the past, and there were no cell phones or technology, so I don't have to worry about that. But I do find that the kids are the same, and everywhere, even in other countries, if you're talking about 7, 8, 9-year-olds, they're all wonderful. They're all kind of ready to live life, and they're curious, and they're kind. And I've had really good experiences everywhere I've been with kids, and that's the same. That hasn't changed one bit.
You all have both had, Magic Treehouse or Goosebumps adapted for TV or movie. How involved do you all get in that? Do you sort of get involved? Do you want to see it as a totally different creation? How does that work?
Well, in most cases, if they're doing a TV show or a series or a movie, they don't want the author around. They do their best to keep you away. Yeah. And people always say, I've been so lucky. The original Goosebumps show was so well done and so good. And I'm very proud of the 2 Goosebumps movies. They were good. They didn't have to be good. And right? And I had, here's my input on the Goosebumps movie. I got them to take out 2 Stephen King jokes. That's it. That's my entire input on the movie. They don't want to hear from you. Yeah. Right? And so you really have to be lucky. And I just feel the things that I've had have been good. I've been proud of them.
Yeah. Why'd you want those jokes out?
Because I don't like to brag about Stephen King. He's a wonderful writer. They had me bragging, in the movie. So we took them out. There are a few still left in.
Probably a smart move. You might have ended up yourself in a new Stephen King novel, which would not be a good place for you.
We don't want that.
Yeah, no. Mary, what about you?
Well, I've actually never done any television or movies. I think that it would be hard to find the right people to do it because my husband and I, my sister, our best friends who do the musicals with my husband. We have 8 musicals out there. We are it's so much a part of us, it's hard to hand it over to someone. And the 2 times we've thought we could do it didn't work out, so we walked away from it. So I think right now it'll just stay in book form and live stage for now.
Yeah. So what is the advice that you each would give to someone in the audience today who wants to be a writer, like a published writer?
Yeah. Well, I never give advice. No, because I always think if someone wants to they're like me, if they want to be a writer. They know when they're really young, and they don't have to be told to read a lot. They don't have to be told to write something every day, because they already are. And I'm being serious now. My only advice is to have fun with it. To go into it thinking, this is a lot of fun. I'm on a lot of author panels with a lot of different writers, and there's always someone on the panel who says, writing is so hard, writing is hard, it's so difficult, I have to lock my kids in the garage so I have time to write. There's always, and I think writing isn't hard. It's not hard. You don't have to wear a hard hat. You don't need special clothes. You don't, you're there, you're creating a world, you're creating your own characters. And if you go into it thinking it's hard, it's going to be hard. And if you go into it thinking, wow, how much fun this is, writing's going to be a lot easier for you.
Yeah.
And that's my only advice.
I totally agree with his advice. It has to be fun, or why do it? And if it's not fun, maybe you're not on the right track with the story, or you need to take a break from it, go have some fun with your dog or a cup of tea and come back eventually. But use that as a good measure of whether or not you should be doing what you're doing. Have fun. Treat it like play. Even if it's serious, even if it's a tragic story, it's got to be inventive and it's got to pull you to the desk to do it. So we agree on that.
Yes, we do. I hate it when writers go into schools and they have an assembly and they tell the kids, write what you know, write from your heart, always write from your heart. Those kids will never write another word, right? Hey, Mary, I've written 300 books, not one word from my heart. That's the absolute truth. Every word is just to entertain people.
Yeah, great. Thank you for that great advice. Okay, well, as you know, I'm a mummy. I usually sleep for like 100 years at a time. This has been exhausting for me. So I'm going to go to my little sarcophagus and take a nap. This has been great. The scary part might be coming up, I heard, maybe. So I'll see you later, and thank you for being here.
I'm so sorry to interrupt. Pardon me, Mr. Stine and Ms. Osborne. I have 2 children here named Jack and Annie, and they said they need to talk to you immediately, and it is about a monster in the Library of Congress. So, do you mind if I bring them on stage to get to the bottom of this?
Yeah, go ahead.
You bet.
All right.
There's a monster in the library and it's gonna get all of us.
Oh, no.
Mary, you're such a good actor. Mary, that's terrific.
That sounds like a big problem. Are we in trouble?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. I'm reading my notes as fast as I can. Okay. Well, I think that we need to share what we know, right?
That sounds great.
Okay. So we have to, Bob, can you help me out here?
Well, I'm sorry, I took a short nap. Where am I? Where are we? What are we doing?
Where's your attendant?
No.
Take him away.
Hey, let's figure this all out. Let's see if we could write a story with the audience.
Oh, would you mind?
Let's see if we
No,
can
that'd
write
be
a
fun.
scary monster story with the audience.
Would you like to do that? Would you like to write a story? All right, I tell you what, I can go get an easel, I'll write down what everybody decides.
That's
Be
a
right
great
back.
idea.
Okay, you stay here.
Sure, we'll just sit here. That's fine. Anyone have any snacks? One.
All right. Where should we start?
Okay. What is this monster? Where do you think? Where's the monster?
Oh, yeah. How did the monster get in here?
Any
Came
thought?
through the window.
Came through the window.
Ooh.
How big? What does this monster look like?
He has a giant pumpkin head.
Oh no!
That's serious.
Hey, now I'm acting.
What does it
Giant pumpkin head. What does it want?
It wants to destroy all the library's books and collections.
Oh.
What will happen if he doesn't get it?
Oh, what do we think, audience? What happens?
Do we have any
What
good
if he
ideas?
doesn't get the library's collection? What do you think's going to happen?
What?
Did you hear?
All right. Yeah. Well, no. What happens if we? What's going on?
We're going to capture him. I heard that if he doesn't get it, that means we get to capture him. So I'm
Oh,
gonna
we'll
put
capture him. Yeah, I like that.
All right. All right. What about his weaknesses?
Yeah. What are the
Yeah.
monster's weaknesses?
He doesn't have imagination.
Whipped cream, and he doesn't have imagination.
Yeah. What else?
Karina, what did you say?
He doesn't have imagination.
Oh, that's a good
He
one.
can't be defeated.
He thinks what?
He can't be defeated.
Okay, he thinks he doesn't have an imagination and he can't be defeated, is what he thinks. And that's the weak spots in the monster. No imagination, and he thinks he's fearless and, can't be conquered.
So how do you defeat a monster like that?
I don't know. You can't.
You're right. You're right. You can't.
Do we have any suggestions?
The end.
Any suggestions for how we
What?
defeat
What
a
do you
monster?
think? How do we do it?
Make him stand up and say, maybe.
Yeah. One suggestion is put him back in the book.
I love that.
That's
Put him
good.
back in the book, somebody said. That's a wonderful idea. Back in the book.
Eat his pumpkin head, I heard from the
Eat
other side.
You could smash it with a hammer, too.
Mary, how cruel. God.
Hammer.
Really?
All right. All right.
Yeah? What else?
How about like one more suggestion?
Okay. We need one more idea.
Did I hear tie him up? Did I hear somebody say tie him up?
Tie him up? Tie him up. Yeah, that's good.
Should we all decide which of these four?
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take applause to see which one of these four, okay? So who thinks we should put him back in the book? Okay. All right. Who says we should eat his pumpkin head?
Kids today.
Okay. Who says we use a hammer? Who says we should tie him up? We're going to eat his pumpkin head if he comes around here. Okay. What do you think?
Yeah.
Is that good enough, Jack and Annie? All right, but the question is, where is he?
Where is it
Where is
now?
this
Where is it?
monster?
Is he?
Is that him? Is that him?
What?
I don't see him. Maybe Clay went home.
Oh boy.
Oh, no. Where is he?
What is it?
There's a scrim behind us.
When the gobbler's man, he comes to town, look out, look out. He'll carry you off to gobbler land, look out. But if you do, he will not turn around and run away. But oh my child, if you are bad, look out, look out.
Send your best wishes. We have to eat this pumpkin head. Get him. Get him.
We know you. You're the monster.
Aren't I the scary pumpkin man?
Well, you were the scary pumpkin man, but do you know who you really are?
Well, it looks like I'm at the Library of Congress, maybe?
That's correct.
Yeah, you are.
Okay. And who are these people? Who are these people?
Those are two of America's finest children's writers.
Right. This is where you wanted me to help those people ask questions of those people.
That is correct. Okay. Yes. Okay, so I'm going to give you this.
We should probably do that.
Yeah, let's do that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
I don't want to see that. Okay. So, just in case anybody at the Library of Congress invites you backstage, there are some weird dudes back there with masks that they want to put on you, and you get possessed, and it's really awful. So don't go backstage. Okay, so we're going to have some mics, some people with mics going around the audience, and we are ready for your questions for Mr. Stine and Miss Osborne. Who wants to ask a question? Let's see here. Okay, there's a girl in a pink and a orange sweatshirt over there. Yeah.
My name is Celeste, and my question is, what is your favorite writing moment?
Favorite writing what?
Moment.
Moment?
Is it like when you finish the book, maybe? Is it when you start the book? Is that what you were wondering?
Yeah.
Okay. Is it the middle?
I like the actual writing.
You like the actual writing?
Okay. Yeah. A lot of authors like having written. But I look forward to it every morning, to sitting down and writing more pages.
Yeah.
That's my favorite part of it.
I like to hear that. Okay, over here.
My name is Rebecca, and my question is, how did you come up with all of these books? My question for Miss Osborne.
Okay.
Well, I love what I do. I can't tell you how much I love it. So I'm always looking for new. I'm like Bob. I love to get up in the morning and start writing, and that's fun. And I just can't quit. And so I have to keep coming up with ideas and making it work for my publisher and the illustrator and everybody. So it's a challenge, but it's all fun. And I don't know if I'll ever quit. Hopefully we'll be up here for our 40th anniversary one day. They'll wheel us in.
We will have you back for sure. Okay, question over here.
Hi, my name is Chloe, and my question for R.L. Stine is, where did you get the original story idea for the Say Cheese and Die book?
Normally I can't answer that. I don't remember. I was walking my dog in Riverside Park in my neighborhood in New York, and these words flashed into my head. Say cheese and die. I'm walking along, walking the dog, and suddenly I have these words in my head, and I thought, what? Where did that come from? And then I started thinking about it, because this is the way I work. I have this title, Say Cheese and Die. Well, what if there's this camera? What if it's an evil camera, and it takes pictures of bad things that happen in the future? And what if some kids discover this camera? And that's how that book got started.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, over here.
My question is, my name is Ariana, and my question is for Mrs. Osborne. My question is, out of all the Magic Treehouse books, which is your favorite?
I think it's a book that probably hasn't been read by many audience members. It's called World at War, 1944, and Jack and Annie go back to World War II and help get some kids out of France during the war. And it's twice as long as all the other books, and I spent a year on that book. So it meant a lot to me, and that's my favorite.
Great. Thank you. Yeah.
Hello, my name is Georgina, and I have a question for Mr. Stine. How did you get that illustrator Jacobus to design those captivating covers for you?
Well, yeah, Tim was around right from the beginning. They hired him and it gave him a tryout, and everyone liked his art. He did about 100 covers, 100 paintings for the first Goosebumps books. And the thing is that I would be writing the book, and Tim would have to do the painting while I was still writing the book. So he wouldn't really know what the book was about. I would send him like a little paragraph and say, this is basically what the book is about. And then he would have to come up with a cover painting. And every single time he got it right. Every single time the cover just matched the story, except once. And that actually was for Say Cheese and Die, which, as I said, was about an evil camera and kids. And the cover painting came in from Tim, and it was a family of skeletons barbecuing. It had nothing to do with the book. And I thought, and of course, you know, the editors were all upset, and of course, they didn't ask him to change the painting. They called me and said, Bob, could you add a scene of skeletons barbecuing in the book? And if you look in the book, I added a dream sequence where the kid dreams about skeletons barbecuing. And that's how we solved the problem.
Nice. So you don't have interesting dreams, but you can make interesting dreams in a book.
We had to.
Yeah. Okay, over here.
Hi, my name is Hannah, and I have a question for Osborne. So, when I grow up, I wanna write books, and me and my sister play a game with each other, and we like to play it. And I was wondering, how do you write the books?
Well, that's a good question. And I think that if you want to be a writer someday, the best thing you can do now is read, and read as much as you can, and love reading, and keep reading until you're really so moved by your reading that you want to write your own story, and start at any time. And your sister could be your editor. She could read what you wrote and help you with it, and you could reverse those roles. But it's never too early to start first reading, and second, trying your own stories. I think you're going to have a good time with it.
Thank you. Okay, over here. What question do we have?
My name's Elliot, and I have a question for Mrs. Osborne. What's your newest book going to be?
The newest, the one that's just finishing now, is called Time of the Turtle King, and Jack and Annie go to the Galapagos Islands and have to save a giant tortoise from lava of a tornado, of a volcano. And I wanted to do the tortoise story in the Galapagos, but I didn't know how to make it very exciting or dangerous. And then I read that they had to airlift tortoises off one of the volcanoes in 1998 because the lava flows were coming down to upset their habitat, and they were very rare and needed to be saved. So Jack and Annie take a little helicopter ride with the police, and they help save the tortoises. But
And
that
there's
was a
this one,
wonderful,
too.
when history matches an idea, it's so exciting.
Yeah, and this one is
Oh, well,
brand new,
that
too.
one just came out, and that's the
Yep.
one I talked about earlier about my childhood.
Yeah. Okay, on this side. Like the outfit. Very good job.
My name is Gianna, and I have a question for both of you. How long does it usually take to write your books?
Well, it takes me, I do an outline of my book before I write it. I never sit down and just start writing a book. I do a chapter by chapter outline of every book first, and I put everything that's going to happen in the book in the outline, and that takes me about a week to do the outline. And then I've done all the hard part, right? I've done all the thinking. I know everything that's going to happen, and I can write the book pretty quickly. Now it takes me these days maybe 3 weeks to write a Goosebumps book.
Wow. What about you, Mary?
Well, it takes me about 6 months to do a treehouse because I have to do so much research. And
Mary, I've never done research.
I know.
No, I've never done research in my life.
Yeah, he's having more fun than I am, really.
Okay, question over here.
Hi, my name is Todd. First of all, thank you guys for doing what you do for kids and kids my age as well. This is for Mr. Stine. I wanted to ask you, I know that there is a musical for The Phantom of the Auditorium, which you actually did a part in on the soundtrack. I wondered which of your other books you would ever want to be adapted into a musical.
Oh, that's a very good question. I think I think The Haunted Mask. That's a book I'm really proud of, and I think it's my best Halloween story. And I think that would make sort of a nice dark musical and a nice Halloween musical. No one ever asked me that question before. That's very nice. Thank you. No, that's very good.
It's a big deal to ask one of these two a question they've never had before because they've heard it all. Okay, over here.
My name is Sydney, and I have a question for Stine. What is your favorite book that you wrote?
Well, I just mentioned the Haunted Mask, and that's one of them. There's a recent one called They Call Me the Night Howler, and it's a comic book one about a kid who runs into a superhero, and the superhero is sick of being a superhero and gives the kid his costume, and the kid is forced to become the Night Howler. And I'm really proud of that book. It's a very recent one, and I think it's a really fun one.
Okay, thank you. On this side.
My name is Kana, and I have a question for Stine. How many Goosebump books are there?
What?
How many Goosebumps books
I lost
are there?
track. I don't know. Maybe 4,000, 5,000. That's why I look like this. All those books. I honestly don't know. There are about 150, 160 Goosebumps books.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Evan, and this is a question for Mr. Alstein. And for the movie Fear Street, is there going to be an Arc trilogy or not?
I'm not allowed to say.
Okay.
But no one's listening, right? Right? 5 more films. But I didn't tell you. Okay? You didn't hear it from me.
Okay. Do we have another question over here that makes Mr. Stine reveal a secret?
Maybe.
Yeah.
My name's Mimi, and I have a question for both of you. What's your least favorite book that you've made?
What's your least favorite book that you've written?
Oh.
I just mentioned mine before, didn't I?
Yeah.
Well, I don't have a least favorite. I just would feel so guilty toward that book if I named it. So I can't go on record with the least favorite.
The book would come and haunt you if you said it out loud. What is your least favorite, right? It's Halloween. Okay, over here.
My name is Lucy, and this is a question for Mary Pope Osborne. I was wondering if I could get your autograph after this, and also my grandma reads the books to me. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. I love it when families read the books together. And once I had a little boy come up to me and say, in a funny little voice, me and my friends started a Magic Tree House book club, and if we haven't read the stories, we just make them up. I thought that was a great book club, very creative. But no, I love it when families and with especially grandparents who live far away sometimes read a book with their grandchild, and then they go online and have a Zoom and talk to each other about it. That's really nice.
Okay, over here. Mm-hmm.
Okay, do you have it ready?
My name is Julia, and Miss Osborne, how many books
What book would you like to read the most?
You mean that somebody else writes, or
No, that you wrote.
that I wrote? I love the Shakespeare story, Stage Fright on a Summer Night. And that one, because I read a lot of Shakespeare, to just pull out lines that he could say throughout the story. So that to me is one of my favorites, and also I love the theater.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Anna, and I was wondering, how do you tap into your imagination or tap into the voice that can still speak to youth?
Bob?
That's hard. I couldn't answer that question because that's all I've ever done. That's all I do.
Sometimes you go on a
Just
walk
write.
with
Yeah,
your
I
dog.
wouldn't know. I wouldn't. That's too deep for me.
So he doesn't have a heart. He's not very smart. Yeah.
And I came here to be insulted.
Mary, what about you?
Well, as soon as I create characters, I'm having fun because I want to see what they have to say. So I think that's that thing of, I loved playing with dolls. I love being on the stage. I love anything that animates the imagination. So characters will start telling me what happens in the story, and that's fun.
Okay, I think we're on this side now.
I have a question for Miss Osborne. Miss Osborne, how much time do you plan to make your Magic Treehouse books, and how much time do you plan to have you actually made them?
Well, probably Bob and I have a similar situation where we have deadlines. And when you have a deadline, you know inside yourself how much time you have and how much time you should give to something. And that's sort of the planning I use. So I have a book due in April, the first draft. So I'm just on the edge now of starting to think about it, and I'll get super busy pretty soon. But that's how I do my life all these years, is by my deadlines, And it's like when you go to school and you have assignments due, it's very helpful, actually, to discipline yourself that way.
Okay, over here.
Hi, I'm a school librarian from India, and I take this opportunity to give you a big salute for getting me new readers every time, demanding readers. And my son is a fan of Stine. So a question from him, he used to ask me, do you really think that he enjoys scaring the kids like me? So do you enjoy it?
I love scaring kids.
Okay.
It's a great job.
Yeah, that's
Well, it's a living.
Thank you.
No, see, I don't really want to terrify kids, We don't really. I hate it when kids come up and say, "Oh, your book gave me nightmares." I hate that. Goosebumps is to get kids reading, just to get them reading. That's really what it's about, not really scaring them.
And you are successful in that. I can vouch for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
My name is Sadie, and I wanted to tell you, which was, when you write your books, what feeling do you have?
What feeling did you say? What kind of feeling? Yeah. A good feeling. I lose track of time when I'm working on a book. So you're just focused on the story, and suddenly 2 hours have gone by, and that's kind of wonderful. You've been in another world. And you could do the same thing with your imagination when you pretend things.
Okay.
My name is Mackenzie, and I need to tell you both something. What's your favorite book character?
Okay, what is your favorite book character?
Favorite book character? Well, I have to say that Slappy, the evil dummy, is my favorite and my least favorite character. He's my favorite character because he got so popular, and kids like this Halloween thousands of kids will go out as Slappy the Dummy, that's a thrill for me. But he's my least favorite character because I've written 15 books about a dummy that comes to life. And believe me, it's really hard to come up with new plots. I killed him off in one book. I wrote The Ghost of Slappy, but I had to bring him back.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Layla, and my question is for Mrs. Osborne. In the stories, when Jack and Annie go into these stories, are they time traveling or are they just transported into the books? Because if so, when they come back, have they altered like the history on Earth, or is it just like a separate universe in the books?
They don't change big things in history, but they are secret players. Like, they really did help Abe Lincoln, and they really did help George Washington, but nobody knows that.
So it's like predetermined. So they're just kind of.
Yeah, they go, but they influence people who are not famous. And like I did a book on Pele at the World Soccer Game in Mexico, and Jackie Robinson at his first game with the majors in Ebbets Field. But Pele was still alive, and Jackie Robinson's family members were still alive. So I wasn't going to do anything that didn't happen. Right. So I keep them both at a distance, and you watch them, and I had the real story of those events, and I kept that true. But I don't even have Jack and Annie meet them, because that's me fiddling with,
right.
living. So I feel like there are rules. Yeah, but thank you. That's a good question.
I think you should become an editor.
A highly paid editor, right? Okay, over here.
My name is Lincoln, and I have a question for Mr. Stine. What's your favorite book that you did not write?
That I didn't write? Well, I have a lot of favorite books that I didn't write. One of my favorite books that I always recommend to kids, a favorite scary, creepy book by the great science fiction writer Ray Bradbury. It's called Something Wicked This Way Comes. And it's about a boy in the Midwest who sneaks out of his house late at night and goes to where they're setting up a carnival. And he gets all involved in this carnival, and it turns out to be the most evil place on earth. It's a really wonderful book, beautiful writing, great surprises, and very scary.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Okay, you just got a reading assignment. Mary, do you have a favorite book that is not something that you wrote?
No, I'm a bookaholic, and I have so many books I love, and I always have books by my bed, and books on the floor, and books on the tables, and I have thousands of books, and I just look at my books, and I just choose one, and they're all so stimulating. I don't finish most of them, but I love just starting them. that's an illness.
Over here.
My name is George. And this is a question for both of you. What book relates to you the most?
Can't hear you, George.
What? Which book that you've written is the most autobiographical? The most like themselves?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Well, mine is my new one, Memories and Life Lessons from the Magic Treehouse, and I've never written personal memories before, so it's certainly my most, it's the one I love the most because it's my life, and it celebrates my family, so that's very personal.
My autobiography is called "It Came from Ohio." No, it's really that's sort of my life story.
That's all that needs to be said about it. Okay, over here.
My name's Rosalind, and this is a question for both of you. Mama, what was the question again?
What was your favorite book when you were a kid?
What was your favorite book when you were a kid?
I read only comic books. I didn't read. I was a comic book freak. When I was a kid, there were these great horror comics called Tales from the Crypt and The Vault of Horror, and I just loved them. And my mother wouldn't let me have them in the house, so they had a big stack of them at the barber shop. And every Saturday morning, I went to get a haircut. So, no, I had less hair then than I do now, just so I could read these comic books.
That's great. In that regard, we have, the Library of Congress has a really excellent collection of some of the world's most famous original comic books called Jeppy Jim's. It's on this floor. It's really cool, like original Superman, all that great stuff. So go check it out. It's really, really wonderful. Okay, so Mary, a favorite book as a kid?
Well, I liked a lot, but I really liked the Little House on the Prairie books. And I just felt like because I was in an army family and we moved so much, I related to the family picking up and leaving and going here and there. And so those books are just wonderfully written, I think.
Great. Okay, I think we're on this side. This side. I'm sorry.
Hi, my name is Kat. Nice to meet you both. So happy you're here. Mr. Stine, you said, the books are about making reading fun for kids. And my question for the both of you is, both of your books succeed absolutely in making reading fun for kids, but also for adults. I grew up with my mom reading Goosebumps to me late at night as my bedtime story. I came from a weird family. But my question for both of you is, what do you think is kind of the thread to successfully write for both children and adults to make it fun, something that becomes a family hobby or a family pastime?
Well, I don't write for your mother. I hate it. People say, "Oh, my grandmother loves your books." No, I really do just aim the books at kids. And what I do is to make them as easy to read as possible. The chapters are short, the sentences are short, they're all written at a 4th grade reading level, and there are no vocabulary words. You don't learn anything in a Goosebumps book. Maybe you lose a few IQ points. But you're having fun reading it. It's so easy, and kids feel that they're mastering reading when they read these books. And that's really all I think about.
Okay, over here.
My name is Eric, and I have a question for both of you. When did you guys start writing?
Well, I started writing when I was 9, and I've been writing ever since. But my first book wasn't published till I was 28. My first book was called How to Be Funny.
Oh.
It was how to be funny in the classroom and how to get big laughs at the dinner table. And parents hated it. They hated this book. But I was 28 when my first book was published.
Mary, what about you?
I didn't start writing till I was in my 20s or late 20s, and my first book was published when I was 32, and I had no idea I was going to be an author. It just never occurred to me. I was doing theater, for a few years, and then one day I just started writing about my past when I was a child, and it became a young adult novel, and I was really lucky because it got published quicker than I could even finish it, and then I had to learn to write. I feel like I was given an opportunity and I had to measure up to it. So in the beginning I did 4 young adult novels year after year, and the publishers in those days really took a risk. You didn't have to sell 1 million to be published again, and I'm not sure it's that way anymore. So back then you could really learn your craft and meet people. I was in New York City, so it just had a wonderful nurturing period of learning to how to be a writer.
Okay, question over here.
My name is Sawyer, and I have a question for both of you. So, is one of your stories based off of one of your adventures when you were a child?
Are any of your books based on any real-life adventures you had as a child?
No. But I will say, I've been talking about The Haunted Mask, and that is one of the few Goosebumps books that's based on something that happened in real life. Maybe you remember The Haunted Mask is about a girl named Carly Beth, and she wants to be really scary at Halloween time, and she tries on a very ugly mask, and it sticks to her face, and she can't get it off, and it turns her evil. Well, that book actually came from something that happened to my son, Matt. He was a real little guy. He was 3 or 4. He was down on the floor in the living room. I was watching him from the doorway, and he tried on a green rubber Frankenstein mask. He pulled it down over his head, and he couldn't get it off. And I'm watching him. He was tugging and tugging at the mask, and I thought, what a great, I should have helped him, right? I didn't win the Good Parent Award that day, but I started writing notes. Oh, the haunted mask, the mask. And seriously, that's where that book came from.
You know, a lot happened to this Matt character when he was 4 years old.
What? Poor kid.
You lost him in Javits, and
Yeah.
yeah.
My son's doing very well. My son won a Tony Award this year.
Oh, really?
For his work for orchestrating Moulin Rouge on Broadway.
Oh, that's great.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have to brag about him.
Of course you do. So, Mary, books based on real-life adventures from when you were...
Well, certainly the new one, as I mentioned. And I think there are little elements in all the Treehouse books that, especially with the brother and the sister, the relationship is based on me and my brothers. But the first book I wrote, this is really terrible, is a very serious book, and it was sort of me at 12, and my younger brother got very sick in the book and died, and that's what it's about, the character who's me coping with that. And my brother is alive and well and coming from Oregon to visit me tomorrow, and he wonders why I killed him off in my first book. But anyway.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. I think Monica is going to come up and tell us how the signing is going to work. That was the last question. But if you didn't get your question asked, please go to the signing. It's going to be up on the mezzanine level, and you can ask your question then. And let's say thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so I just have a few housekeeping rules for book signing and photo opportunities. It will start upstairs in about 15 to 30 minutes. Authors will sign up to 2 books at a time. Books only. No other merchandise or memorabilia should be presented for signing. There will not be any personalization of signatures. You can have your picture taken with authors, but you must follow staff instructions in order to do that. There'll be no touching of the authors, please. You're asked to remain masked until your picture time, and the authors will be signing for up to 1 hour after they start. Your cooperation with all of this is greatly appreciated. Thank you for joining us today, and let's give our moderator and our authors one more round of applause.